is the Colts winning the AFC South with the team that they're building, and opinions on what the Colts could do. I don't have a lot of notes for the Colts. I don't think they have a lot to sort out since they address their most important need, a quarterback of Carson Wentz.
Well, my old ass got technologically advanced and I learned how to do digital notes. So don't worry, I got some notes on the Colts right now and I don't have to handwrite them anymore. So, okay, their first problem they have is that Anthony Costanzo retired as their left tackle. You have to replace him. I do not like the idea of moving over your left guard to tackle. I don't like it. You got one of the best left guards in the league. He's young. Just leave him where he is. Go get Trent Brown or Trent Williams or something like that to fix
Brown
your left.
From the Ravens, yeah.
Right. Then I think you need a pass rusher on the other side of DeForest Buckner. You could go for a Jadeveon Clowney or something like that, and both corners and safeties, they could use additional stability out there. And with Xavier Rhodes leaving, even though Xavier Rhodes kind of turned into trash over the last few years, I don't know what happened. Like, it's weird. He's one of those dudes, like, if you go look at his stats, nobody has ever covered Julio Jones better than Xavier Rhodes. He's literally held him to like 18 receiving or 18 catches in like 6 or 7 games, but he fell off besides when you cover Julio Jones. I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah. I have no idea. When you get guys like that, so the name Xavier Jones, I hear it and I'm like, oh yeah, what a good player. Oh, he's going to be on the market. Cowboys, go get him. Cowboys, go get him as quick as you can. But then I've looked into him a bit and it's like, oh, maybe don't go get him. Maybe try and find a younger version of him somewhere,
Right. And then also with them, they do have some decent cap money, right? They have almost $44 million.
They've got plenty to spend.
Which is really good. Michael Pittman Jr. is coming into his second year, but if you don't re-sign T.Y. Hilton, I don't know what you're going to do, because T.Y.
There are plenty of people in the draft.
He had a slow start to the year last year.
Yeah.
But I think that was a lot to do with him and Phillip Rivers. Like, it just was so different, because by the end of the year, he was playing like T.Y. again.
Yeah. T.Y. Hilton is a great wide receiver, and I wouldn't get rid of him if I was the Colts. I wouldn't get rid of him. I love him too much. Plus, there's another team in your division that may be looking at T.Y. Hilton in the Tennessee Titans, so you really can't afford for that to happen. But T.Y. Hilton would be that's somebody who they really need to keep a hold of, somebody who could turn into kind of Wentz's safety blanket.
Yeah, and you need somebody to stretch that field, and he can definitely take the top off of defense.
Yeah, but his route running is really good as well. So if you can find somebody to take the top off the defense in the draft, so that's Rashad Bateman from Minnesota, someone who can take the top off in the draft, and then you have Pittman coming into his second year on the other side, and then Hilton kind of turns into a bit more of a slot receiver and working his experienced routes in there in the middle of the field. It kind of gives you more of a Philadelphia 2017 vibe about it, no? And then you can go get Zach Ertz as a tight end in the free agent market as well, just to really give it that feeling as well.
Yeah, and for them, for draft picks, I was looking, and I had a few actually, because they're drafting lower, and they're a good team, but they do have a handful of needs. So it was Elijah Moore, wide receiver, Ole Miss. Then I had
choice.
Tackle Tevin Jenkins out of, where did I have him out of?
Oklahoma State.
There you go. And then Penn State edge rusher, Jason Owens, again, like I just pitched in our last one for other teams.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he takes over for Justin Houston. I don't know. But, you need to do something on that left tackle. You need to do something with your wide receiver. But I think they got a really good defense. Granted, like we just talked about corners, you got to make some moves. But their defense was a bright, shining star of their team last year. Yeah. And I am still a believer that Carson Wentz will be better than an old Phillip Rivers.
I think Carson Wentz is definitely an upgrade for them. I think the more I thought about it, I kind of was slating him at the start, but he was still an Eagle to me. So that's why And now we're further removed from that. I'm like, oh yeah, that was a great trade for the Colts because they didn't lose anything by doing it. They didn't give up enough for it to be an actual loss by doing anything like that. If T.Y. Hilton does go, there are some options for them. There's Will Fuller, there's Golladay, there's Sammy Watkins. There are options, but I would definitely want to keep him if I was them. And imagine if they signed Trent Williams. Imagine the left side of that offensive line in a run game. Trent Williams and Quentin Nelson in that run game that's going to really do something for them.
Yeah,
and then that gives Wentz that safety blanket of just hand it off,
I went completely blank on Quentin Nelson's name. So now that you said that, do not move him to left tackle.
Yeah, to left tackle.
Talking about that. Stop that. It's a completely different position, and people don't understand it doesn't usually translate.
Yeah.
When you're a tackle, you're in more space. When you're a guard, you got to be quick in small space. And when you're a guard, you're fighting heavier, strong guys. When you're a tackle, you're fighting the most athletic defensive ends. So
yeah, it's like Zach Martin gave it a go, but still, I would rather have Zach Martin. I like Zach Martin as a guard way more than a tackle, but he was able to do it. I think Quentin Nelson is talented enough to do it, but when there's left tackles on the market, why bother? Why not just keep what's working?
But why do you take one of the top left guards and mess with it? You know what I mean?
There's no point. Yeah.
Like if Gordon Ramsay's cooking for me, I'm not going to try to respice the food,
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah. I thought you were going to say something about Jamie. If Gordon Ramsay's cooking for me, I'm not going to bring Jamie Oliver in, but I don't.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, don't mess with it if it's already working. Don't fix something that's broke.
Yeah, of course. I think that really works for them. And imagine that run offense if you just say run to the left at Trent Williams
with those running backs too.
Yeah, it's great run game. I think the Colts are in a great position, and the reason I don't have a lot of notes on them is because they don't have any glaring holes apart from left tackle, but that seems to be easily solvable this season. All they need to do, they have a lot of cap space and some draft capital, like a decent amount of draftable picks, to just take what makes your team the most talented. Like you don't need to fix it too much. Like just take what makes your team the most talented it can possibly be. And
I mean, they're a
basically
playoff team, so now you're just trying to get better. Whereas if you're a shitty team, you're trying to fix the most glaring holes that will help the most. Where these guys are just trying to add better players all around.
Yeah, and it's the same with the next team that we're going to move on to, probably the Colts' biggest competition, and that's the Tennessee Titans. They're in a very similar spot. They've got the way that they want to play. They know how they want to play, and that's to run the ball. They have that identity, which a lot of teams want, like that kind of identity. The only glaring issue that they have, in the same way that the Colts have a left tackle missing, is a pass rusher. PFF gave Clowney a pass rusher grade in the 60s, which isn't too bad. That's not horrendous, but it is bad if that's your best pass rusher grade on your team. 60 is a PFF.
Yeah, and Vic Beasley didn't help as much as they thought he was gonna.
Yeah.
They definitely need a pass rusher. That's actually one of the harder things you're going to have to try to find.
Season is
almost a draft, because you don't see top end defensive ends hitting the market unless something crazy happens. You're not going to see free agents go out there. So that's almost something that they'll have to try to figure out in the draft, or defensive coordinators have to get creative, blitz their linebackers, blitz their corners, blitz their safeties. Speaking of cornerbacks and safeties, though, they just cut Malcolm Butler and Kenny Vaccaro. So
they could definitely do with a cornerback as well.
But again, they're another team I could have, like maybe they take a shot at Mackenzie Alexander, William Jackson, Dunbar, Cameron Sutton. There's guys out there in free agency that they could take a run at to make that team better in the secondary right away. And it'll probably cost you less than the two guys you just cut to free up cap. Granted, I do not know if my cap number, I think this is before those two cuts. So I'm not sure where they're at, because I only have them at $2 million in cap room. But I think Butler and Vaccaro, because it came so late last night, are not updated yet on my numbers.
Yeah, so they are. So they do have some cap space in order to go get someone, just somebody that'll be able to. I don't think they've got the kind of money to go after Harrison. I think Dunbar could be a really good fit for them. I think Dunbar could be a great fit. And what about for Russia? What about Houston, who seems to be not re-signing with the Colts? Houston might be a good quick fix for them while they try and work with somebody on the draft to sit behind him and learn from Houston.
Yeah, that could definitely work. And the only other guy I came up with was Jeffrey Simmons.
Yeah, Jeffrey Simmons could work. Jeffrey Simmons could definitely work. Yeah, there's a few, like there are ways that they can fix that. It's just that's a much more difficult fix than what the Colts have got to fix at the moment.
And just to go back a second, when you hit on receivers, so let's say that T.Y. doesn't go, and granted, a couple of these you said, but I'm just going to give you my list of guys they could go after. Allen Robinson, Curtis Samuels, Marvin Jones, Kenny Golladay, or Juju.
Yeah, I've got Juju written down as a great fit. Allen Robinson's been tagged by the Bears.
Right.
I'm not sure whether he can make it, but if they can trade for him, then that'd be.
And I think you'll get him for less than a first because I think, and this is just me thinking, the Bears want as much draft capital to try to get Russell Wilson in the building.
Yeah, and if Corey Davis walks, then they definitely need a number 2 receiver and a good number 2. And for me, Juju Smith-Schuster is a great number 2 receiver. Not a good number 1, but a really good number 2. And I think Juju would be a really, really good fit for them. And the way that they like to play football as well.
And do they not have some of the best tight ends? So, I mean, they're going to be set tight ends. You got Derrick Henry, who, yes, he is a blazing fast guy for his size, but Derrick Henry's greatest asset is that he will put you on your ass. And he doesn't care if you're a lineman, a linebacker. And if you're a corner, you better just go lower. You're going to be waking up with smelling salts. You know what I mean? So, and Ryan Tannehill has impressed the shit out of me.
Yeah, I was worried for...
I thought he was shot. I thought Joe Philman ruined that guy. And he went to Vrabel, who's tough as nails. And I'm like, ooh, how is Tannehill going to fit with a guy like Vrabel? Come to find out, it seems like Ryan Tannehill's tough as nails too. And he's a smart kid. He was just never in the right system.
Yeah, it was... When he got that big contract, it's not the world's biggest contract, but it seemed like a big contract for Tannehill at the time. You were thinking, oh, what are they doing? That's gonna really hurt them. But then Tannehill is a baller. Who knew? Tannehill is a really good quarterback for this team. He fits so well. They've got a good identity to build around. They know the kind of players that they need to take. In that pass rush conversation, they are picking 22nd overall, so it may be difficult for them to get somebody in the draft, but somebody who may fall to them is Boogie Basham or Carlos Basham Jr., whatever you want to call him, the defensive end from Wake Forest, who may fall to them just because he's from Wake Forest. And he can just reset an O-lineman. Like, he can just set off the mark and just hit him really hard. Like, he's a big guy. And he's got a 7-foot wingspan. So even if he doesn't make it to the quarterback, you have to throw around him. You can't really throw over him, and he's a big guy to have to throw over with that 7-foot wingspan.
I agree. That's who I had down as a good pick. I also was thinking to myself, I was kind of shocked when they signed that deal with Ryan Tannehill, but then like you said, it wasn't the worst deal, but I was like, was that a 1-year hit, but they had to sign him? But then I was listening to Taylor Lewan talk on Bussing with the Boys, and he was saying that he truly believes that Marcus Mariota did not fit with that team because he wasn't tough enough for Vrabel.
Yeah, I reckon that works as well. But then we'll see how tough Marcus Mariota is if he goes to the New England Patriots. I
don't think you got to be tough with the Patriots, though, because they quick ball, run, they scheme for the other team.
Oh, that kind of tough.
Yeah, like he couldn't, like he wouldn't
take the hits.
Ball. Yeah, he didn't want to run. Like Tannehill will take a quarterback draw and take a hit to get that first down, where it sounds like Mariota wasn't willing to do that kind of thing.
And Tannehill's just a talented athlete as well. He was a wide receiver in college as well, wasn't he? So he's he's a talented guy. He's the perfect guy for them to add on top of that that kind of running offense where they control the ball. If they fix a pass rusher, then they can really control a game and not worried about. So they can control a game. They can give the other team absolutely no time on the ball. But if they don't have a pass rush, then the other team don't need time on time with the ball. They can just throw it on them. But the chances are Titans will be good from in front. And if they can get a pass rush and get somebody who can get to the quarterback and have a decent cornerback, then that rush offense with Tannehill and Henry and a good offensive line they have as well, and that just kind of hard-nosed football will be really complemented with having a pass rush as well.
Well, I have a question for you in a second, but first, they might even just get Clowney as default because I don't think Clowney's going to get what he wants, and so maybe they can sign Clowney again, and like, you know what I mean? So that might be their edge rush. But my question for you is, just the last 2 years alone, Tannehill, a tier 2 quarterback?
Tier 2, yeah.
That's tier what 2. I figured.
Yeah, tier 2.
I think if you take his whole body of work, you would have a hard time putting him there. But if you just take him with the Titans,
I don't think that's his fault. I don't think that's his fault. I think he's been put in a decent team, and now so tier 2 quarterbacks they're in a decent team and they win. Whereas like tier 1 is you put them in any team and they look like they can win a game. But tier 2 is you put them in a good team and they win.
My tier 2 quarterbacks are they can win a Super Bowl with the right pieces around them.
Yeah. And whereas tier 3 is people who you can put the weapons around them and they still might not win.
Yeah, they're the type of guys that you're going to hope take you to the playoffs and you get hot.
Yeah, that hot at the right time, and then tier 4 is just not even.
Yeah, because the tier 1 guys like Mahomes, they can throw a team on their back and go, "Come on, Rodgers."
Yeah, Tannehill isn't that. Tannehill isn't that, but he's tier 2 because you could definitely. They could have made it to a Super Bowl already with Tannehill. They could have.
Yeah, absolutely, twice. Yeah, and I think they had a good enough team to go 2 years in a row. They just didn't do it.
Yeah, they just didn't quite make it. People definitely slept on them the first time. And I think if they fix those spots, if they get a second wide receiver, a pass rusher, and they are going to fix cornerback. They won't have cut Butler if they didn't know that they weren't going to fix their secondary as well. Then I think they can make it again. I think they're a really talented team. And I think the Titans and the Colts, it's their division to take, isn't it?
It is. And last year, I had, obviously, the Titans as the better team. This year, I actually have the Colts.
I've got the Colts as the better team as well. Yeah.
And that's nothing. I love Vrabel. I love that dude. Okay, I've never been a Tennessee fan. I've never been a Tennessee hater. They were nothing to me until Vrabel went there. But I love that dude. He doesn't do many, but when he does interviews on a more of a talking basis, not, the dude's fucking electric. He's electric. I can see how players want to run through a wall for that guy.
Yeah, definitely. And just run through a body for that guy. You can see it. That's how they play offense. It's just run through the guy in front of you.
Yeah, they play like he played. They definitely took on his personality. Smart, definitely. Hard-nosed football.
And I like to watch it. It's something really different. Who's the wide receiver for number one receiver for them? Brown, yeah. Yeah, Brown. He is a monster. Isn't he? Even when your wide receivers are hard as nails, then it's your team is just going to be. Nobody's going to enjoy playing against the Titans. Nobody's going to.
Your wide receiver plays like a wide receiver most of the time, but when he needs to, he plays like a tight end. He's a tough dude.
Yeah, he is.
He'll get up and body you out of the way like he's a basketball player.
Yeah, he's a big guy, and I mean, that's just not a fun. That's the same as a rainy day in Stoke. If you know the soccer term, it's like a rainy Tuesday night in Stoke. Basically, Stoke it's a grim town in the Midlands where the team are just all massive and just beat you up basically when you play them. So champions don't want to play. Champions play the sleek football, but do they win in a rainy day in Stoke? The Tennessee Titans are the Stoke of the NFL. Apart from it doesn't rain a lot in Tennessee, I guess.
Yeah, so there's a big discrepancy in the AFC South right now, right? You got two teams on the top and two teams way on the bottom. Yeah. But Duval, remember, you're coming up fast. I
would not be surprised if Jacksonville managed to win the AFC South by some miracle this year. I wouldn't be surprised by it. The only team I would be surprised is the Texans if they manage to win.
I got Jacksonville going 6-11, but I could see them going 8-9 or 9-8. I'm so weird still with that extra game.
Yeah, I just was like, 8-8. Oh no, it's not that anymore.
Yeah, I know it's that extra game messes me up, but I'll get there. We'll all get used to it. I'm excited for another week of football. I was actually just hoping they put an extra bye week in, which they didn't, so that we got 2 extra weeks of football.
Yeah, or an extra London game, please. That'd be fantastic.
As long as they don't send the Vikings, because I hate getting up that freaking early for those games.
I have to watch the Cowboys at like 1 a.m. till 4 a.m. You guys can get up one time.
I'd rather be
play. Everybody should have to play.
Early, but yeah, no, I watched the Vikings. I think they beat the Steelers in London when I watched them. It was a few years back. So I don't remember, but yeah. I know you guys have a sloppier field than I'm used to seeing.
Yeah, it's because we play football on it as well. It's because we use actual grass. But the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium has now got an NFL pitch underneath it. An NFL pitch that they hover on the top. So like it's got a hover pad. They hover on the NFL pitch, and then Tottenham play on the football pitch below. So like that won't happen.
That's like a basketball hockey for you guys. If you don't get what he's saying, basketball court goes over hockey over the ice. And then they pull
basically, it's that on a massive scale. Yeah, it's one of those.
Or if anybody's ever seen Arizona Cardinals, their grass actually is on a track that goes outside, gets sun, and then moves back into the dome.
Yeah, that it's that kind of thing. I'm not sure whether it's a hover pad or whether it's a track or not. It's
however it works, but same idea. Yeah.
There's the football pitch on the bottom, which whenever the NFL teams come, because this is completely off topic of what we were talking about now. But whenever the NFL teams come, where everybody stands on the side.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't have that. Your pitches are so much more narrow than a soccer pitch, so everybody stands on the side. So when they were playing at Wembley, you would then see the teams who were playing at Wembley playing on a thing where it's just brown grass on either side, where the grass has been flattened, and they're having to play out in that because the NFL pitch is so narrow, so that everybody can stand on the sidelines.
Okay, well that makes sense.
So they slide it on and off.
And the NFL and Europe have some real big ideas. If you guys were willing to do something like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
spend the money. Then there's already some big stuff in the works, though. Is what that proves for the future.
Yeah, exciting. It's the guy who owns the Jaguars that owns the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Put the money up to do that. Yeah, put the money up to do that.
I think he really wants to move that team to London one day, but we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. He's just not been allowed to. So sorry, Jacksonville fans, you must hate British guys the most just because we're gonna be taking your team soon. But enjoy it while you can. There's gonna be some fun this season for you guys.
I think most Americans love Brits just because of their accent, so I think you're safe. But yeah, I think that we pretty much wrap that up. That Colts looking good, Texans looking awful,
Texans looking bad.
Yeah,
and then the other two somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, but the Titans and the Colts are both teams that can do small moves, get better. Jacksonville's got a lot of opportunity to get better.
They have to hit to get better, but they have a lot of lottery tickets to be able to cash in to get better.
And the Texans could be the same if they would just trade Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. So thank you very much, guys, for listening to us. Really appreciate it.
Yes, and if any of you guys have a question or a comment, you can drop it in the comments below, and we'll 100% address your question if you have it. If you want to drop it, I know some people like to do video questions. Private message me. We'll do a video. We'll pop your video up and we'll answer your question. Anything you guys want to do, follow us on Twitter on Yankee and The Brit. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, hit the notification button, Facebook, follow, and share. Also, we'll be hitting Spotify, Google, iTunes, all that good shit coming up. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Stay tuned. We will hit the the AFC East.
AFC West. AFC West.
See, I can't even remember what we did anymore. We'll be in the AFC West next, which actually might have some exciting news over there too.
Yeah.
So stay tuned, guys. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.